Well, I'm specifically working on systemic systems. In my mind, I've been talking with my clients about it. I have a brand new client specifically who just called me the other day. We're going to meet and talk about the systems within his business. And he wanted to make sure that I was truly capable of being able to handle the systems inside of his business. Now, running the systems in your business can be complicated, unrewarding, very rewarding. It depends upon how you see it. But it's a topic that's worth spending time on. First, let's specifically talk about, well, what the frick am I talking about when it comes to systems? So the last radio show I used an example, which is worth repeating in this radio show, the distribution of beer. All right, really good example of systemic systems is a beer company gets a beer order that takes them 2 weeks to pull the beer out of the barrels, to bottle it, to ship it, send it to the place that has ordered it. All right. But this beer is really popular and really hot, right? So the company said, the liquor store says, hey, I really need more of this beer. So they order 6 of them to be delivered next week. Well, they can't deliver 6 cases next week. They only have 3 cases inside their inventory. So they only send 3 cases to that liquor store because that's all they have, because it takes them 2 weeks to create and deliver. That's the 6 cases of beer. Now, take that 2 weeks and expand it out. Can you see how quickly it leads to a problem? Let's say it's a 2-month process. So if a particular beer is very popular and the liquor store, instead of ordering 3 cases, orders 6 cases, and all they have in stock when they receive the order is 3 cases because that's what they've planned on, and now they have to double their production, and it takes them 2 months to meet that requirement to double their production. By the time they double it, there isn't going to be much interest left in the beer, because people will be like, hey, I want to try this beer. It's super cool. I just saw it in this movie. And it takes 3 months in order for them to try the beer because that store is constantly sold out. By then, the hype, the excitement has passed. The trend is done, and that beer company now has an oversupply of beer in their inventory to answer what was a interest that was occurring 2 months ago. So that's just one example of systems inside of a business. I think it's a good example because it really keeps you focused on, well, what does it mean to have specific systems in your business that affect you and affect your business's capacity to perform? But let's talk about other systems in your business. How do you do your invoicing? That is a system in your business. How often do you charge your clients? Right next to invoicing. How do you deliver to your clients a product? Do you mail it to them, or do they download it off the computer? Are you selling them an instant product? How do you handle your customer service complaints? What system do you have in place? Does that complaint hit your personal email box so it's handled the day it shows up? Or does it hit your assistant's box and might get forwarded to you and you might get it a day later? What system do you have for, let's say you're a gardener. What system do you have for cleaning up somebody's yard that's overdue? Do you spend time? Do you have an hour that you spend in each house with your 3-man crew, and you only have that hour, so it's going to take you 3 or 4 weeks to clean up that yard that has this backlog of work to do? Or if you're a consultant and you have to go through and do an analysis on somebody's business, how long does it take you to do that analysis, and how do you deliver that analysis? Do you deliver it with a verbal at an hour of consulting with them, or do you actually deliver a report that takes you time to write up? Simple things. How do you fulfill a shipping order? You know, shipping usually isn't a big part of our businesses unless that's what you do. How do you fulfill a shipping order? You get a shipping order in, do you mail every 2 days? Do you mail every day? Do you mail once a week? All of those, every single one of those are systems in your business, systemic systems within your business. And some of them might be invisible to you. I just declared some ones that are probably very visible to you. Some of them might be invisible to you. How do you handle a complaint from your employee? You may not have a system there in your mind, as in like a conscious system, But you might have but there probably is an unconscious system in your mind. When an employee complains to you, what do you say to them? Do you say, I will talk to you immediately, here, fill out this form, let's get clarity on the complaint? Do you have a system for employee dissatisfaction? Do you have a system for being able to deal with that maybe two employees are fighting with each other? Do you have a prearranged system in your employee handbook for them talking to each other, a dispute resolution? They need to talk to each other, then they need to bring in a manager or their employer, which would be you, because we're all small businesses, right, guys? So it would be you, and then there'd be mediation that would be done with you, the boss. But what are your systems? There are systems that you have that are happening, but you haven't delineated. Usually employee dispute or employee arguments is a really good example of what's generally an undelineated system. You've got it going. It's happening. If they're upset, they're complaining, there's something that you've done around that. That was your system. Did you ignore them? Or did you sit down with them and take them to lunch? Did you invite them into your office? That's an invisible system. Okay. Why? So systemic systems. Now, last time I talked a little bit about systemic systems and why it's so important. This time, as far as like, why do you care? This time, let's talk about personalizing systemic systems. Okay, why would we personalize our systemic systems? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, for branding. What is your company's brand? Does your company's brand offer high levels of customer service? Your systems might be in the way of you being able to fulfill that high level of customer service. What is your company's brand? Is it quick? You got a quick turnaround, or is your brand high quality? So that's one. The second is your capacity. How do I put this? Your tolerance for getting that system done. What is your nature around that system? And does your existing system that handles that piece in your business support the nature that you have as a human being that is running your own business? Because you can't really operate very long outside of your own nature. What is it in particular that you are trying to achieve with systemic systems? Systemic systems are very personalizable, hugely personalizable. And if you don't know that, then you're losing a lot of power in your capacity to run your business, a lot of power in how to be able to transform your business, both into the vision that you have for it, as well as supporting your nature. So let's talk a little bit about the vision that you have for it. And usually your branding comes out of your vision. All right, which business do you have? Stop for a moment and reflect. Which business do you have? It's in your brain. You know the answer. Are you a high level of customer service with a high level of quality and a high amount of time? You take time. Like I have a product that I deliver. It takes me almost 2 weeks to deliver the product, right? That's actually a long period of time, but it's a high level of quality. It includes a report. It includes an hour of feedback, talking to the client. So it's a high level of quality, but it takes a high amount of time. That's first. Another example might be something that's got an immediate turnaround to it, right? Like a quick an emergency help for my clients who call me and they say, hey, I'm up against a wall with this employee, so I need to talk to you in the next 24 hours. I have a system that I use so that I know that client needs help. So what's your branding identity? My brand identity is the more upper end. We're going to be in a long-term relationship. We're going to have I have a high level of loyalty to my clients. I'm interested in them having a very clear and integrated understanding of our work together and what they're getting out of our work together and their business. Okay. So my systems should support that. So if they're going to pay me a lot of money for my report, right? I want them to feel powerful and clear that they've gotten a good product from me. So I write that report and I deliver it with an audio. I deliver it not with an audio like a tape, but I spend time talking to them on the phone to review that report. That review is not included in the original pricing of the report as far as they're concerned. That's a long system. They send me their material. I review their material. I do a report on their material. I tell them that the material's ready. I schedule an appointment with them about their material, and then I spend an hour talking to them about their material. And that takes a 2-week time period. So that's a long systemic system. If I was interested in helping my clients in some case of emergency management or crisis management, 2 weeks is not a good length of a system to support them. That would be way too long for dealing with crisis management. What about your business? What is the brand, the niche, the quality that your business delivers to your client? And do your systems support that? Let's talk about maybe your system is to try to do the opposite. Your system is to offer very quick updates to websites. Let's say that's your niche. Your niche isn't that you're building a whole website. Your niche isn't that you're developing a whole branding campaign. Your business is quick and fast and clean website updates. Let's say that's your system. So if somebody calls you, is your system to have them leave a message in a 1-800 phone mailbox, voicemail box, and then you check that voicemail box once a day at the end of the day? It's a viable business system. It's a completely viable business system. Do you feel that that gives clients the quick turnaround that they're looking for, that they're paying you for? Okay? I would suggest that you want them to leave a system, you want them to be able to call and either have the receptionist text you a message or email you a message if you check your emails several times a day, or they leave a message and it sends you an alarm or a bing to your phone or to a pager or to a text message of some kind, so that you get an immediate understanding that somebody has called you. Systems that can be fine-tuned for your end result. So I want you right now to pull out a piece of paper. I want you to write down systems in this area, okay? Here's the areas in your business. I want you to write down systems in the area of inventory management. If you have any inventory at all, how do you manage it? I want you to write down the systems of product creation, right? How long does it take you to create a product? Whatever your product is. Your product might be a service, and therefore it's delivered immediately. Your product might be an actual physical item, a widget, and so therefore it takes you time to produce it. But product creation, and then product delivery. So we've got product creation, inventory, and product delivery. How long does it take for you to deliver your product to your client, and what does that system look like? So product delivery. Okay, let's keep going on. Once you've delivered the product, what's your customer support look like? Okay? When your clients call you back, what phone number do you give them to call you back on? Or what email do you give them to call you back on? Like when I have a quick turnaround, because my business model is not a quick model, when I have a quick turnaround, I have my clients send me an email, and I tell them to send me a text telling me you sent me an email. I will check that email within the next couple of hours. Because normally I don't have to check my emails every couple of hours. But if it's a quick turnaround, I need a system that gives me a quick amount of response, or a quick capacity to respond. So we've got product creation, inventory, which is holding the product delivery, customer service behind the product. Okay? That's all within the production line. Now, let's talk about your internal systems within your business. What do you do to do your bookkeeping? Who does your bookkeeping? Do you do it, and how quickly is it done? And how quickly do you bill your clients? Invoicing. Okay? Let's talk about any other systems you have around email, paper, as in receiving a letter or a bill or something in the mail, text pages or text messages, phone calls. What are the systems that you have in place for taking care of those ways of people reaching your company? And what are the systems that you have for sending that information back out again, for answering those? Do you have that in place? Do you have employees? And if you do, then there are employee management systems. Do you meet with your employees once a week as a group? Do you not meet with them at all? Do you meet with your employees every morning and do a debrief, or do you just meet with, or do your employees just there and you show up and you don't really do debriefs? Maybe you do one-on-ones with your employees. Any system is fine, but it is the system that you're using. Remember, whether you're conscious to the system or not, the system is happening. You're having debriefs with your employees or with your independent contractors. You're having conversations with them that pass information along. It's a question of, how do you do that? Do you do it on the phone? Do you do it in person? Do you do it quickly? Do you do it daily? Do you do it over long periods of time, over once a week, once every month? But you're doing it. So write it down. Now, that's obviously not quite a comprehensive list of all systems in your business, but it's the beginning of a relatively comprehensive list. So what have I left out? Think about your business in particular. I covered a business that has some version of products, right? The creation of the product, the inventory of the product, the delivering of the product, the customer support behind the product. I've tried to talk about your internal systems having to do with bookkeeping, bank accounts, invoicing your clients, employee management or employee team support management, website, social media, marketing. Whew. That's a big system. Any systems you have around marketing, boy, I'm glad I remembered that one. Any systems you have around marketing, social media management, absolutely write those down. And if you just write down the title, that is sufficient. So we talked about systemic systems having to do with your branding. We went through a whole list of different areas that have systems specifically built in, having to do with the branding in your company. I want you to look at that same list, and I want you to look at your nature. I want you to look at, is it your nature to turn things around quickly? Have you created a niche that's not appropriate for your nature? Or is your niche appropriate for your nature, for what you like to do? Are you a detail-oriented person? Are you? Are you a customer's relation person? You like talking to people. Is that who you are? Or are you somebody who moves quickly, likes to get things done? You're very agile in your thinking and you like to implement solutions as quickly as possible. Is that your brand? Is that nature embedded in your brand? Or is your brand the opposite of your nature? Okay? Which one are you? And does your business answer that? Now, once you've answered that question, let's look at the systems and how you can personalize them. Some systems inside of your business are not going to be attractive to you simply because it's not your nature. Right? No, having nothing to do with brand. Right? That's just first level. First level is branding, and then is your brand in line with your nature. The second level of this part is, what is your nature, and do your systems support your nature? All right, if you're a detail-oriented person and you have a system that doesn't have a lot of details in it, you might feel like that part of your business is out of control. You might feel like that you haven't sat down to work out what that system is in detail. Let's say you're a quick-moving person and you feel like that particular part of your business requires a long, excruciating amount of your time, and you just don't have that kind of time to give to it. That part of your business may not serve your nature. Okay, let me give an example. If you're not a detailed person, let's say you're somebody who's very quick, you like getting things done, maybe you're people-oriented, you like to have chatty conversations, but you're doing a lot of writing in order to create blogs for your social media. That may not serve you. Your nature may not be able to tolerate doing that on a regular basis, and therefore that system, that commitment that you've made to that system will probably fail on a reoccurring basis. And you'll wonder why. You'll go, well, I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know I'm supposed to do a blog every week, and it's not like I lack content or the thinking in order to do the blog or expertise, but for some reason I never get around to it. Is it because that system isn't supportive to your nature? And would you do better to do what I do, which is record something on audio, or for me, speak it and as part of my radio show, take the audio of my radio show and hand it over to somebody who is good at writing and let them do it. Because it's not my nature. I talk. I don't write. Are you a writer? Are you a writer and you absolutely, positively enjoy creating blogs? Enjoy the process of thinking through the process and the point that you want to tell people about and breaking it down into discrete points that can be implemented into paragraphs. Is that your nature and therefore you're naturally a writer and you're trying to create videotapes for people to watch because you've heard that's the newest wave, right, in having your website look cool or being able to reach people across multiple mediums? It may not serve you. That may not be your way. So maybe you write out the information and you have somebody create the graphics that goes with the video. Maybe it just isn't for you. Now that's just a small example. Let's look at a much larger example within your business. Businesses have core systems involved in them. Every business needs to have bookkeeping. Are you the type of person who does bookkeeping really well? Raise your hand. Or, if you're driving your car, then don't raise your hand. Do it, raise your hand inside your head. But are you the person who enjoys being highly, highly detailed? Bookkeeping might be perfect for you. The bookkeeping element in maintaining your business might be perfect for you. Having that as a very detailed system might be perfect for you. But if you're not that person and you didn't raise your hand, you're not detail-oriented, you're like me, you move quicker, you're more excited about talking to people, or you're more excited about customer service, or your mind does structure really well but moves very quickly, boom, 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 right? Bookkeeping's going to drive you crazy. As long as you keep that system under your jurisdiction, it's not going to happen. You'll do it for a while, but you won't do it well. And you won't do it recurringly. And you won't do it on a regular basis. So systems, sometimes, although they're relatively core to your business, need to be moved on. You need to delegate them. Okay? Let me give you another example because I want you to be able to really relate to this because people will say to me, but Christina, I can't delegate it. It's not my nature and I can't delegate it. Okay, let's talk about marketing. That's one of the hot ones. A lot of people feel they can't delegate. You meet somebody and they want to find out what your business does. Now, how do you delegate that? You've just met that person. They want to know what your business does, and you don't quite know how to manage it because you're not really good at talking. You don't want to be salesy, to borrow from a previous show of mine. You don't want to be salesy, so you're hesitant to talk. Okay. If you have several ways to handle that, but one of the ways to handle it is to be able to understand how you can have a conversation with somebody that's not salesy, that's based in value and integrity for you around your business. Now, does that conversation need to be a short conversation or a long conversation? Set up a successful system around it. Okay, let's say you have a high price point product. You need to have a long conversation with a potential client. What are you going to do in that situation? I suggest that your system be something where you go, I'd love to tell you about it. Here's the basics of what I do. I'm a small business management advisor, or I'm a landscaping expert that focuses on, backyard improvements. But I would really like to spend more time with you to understand this. What really is your need? Because your need is really what's going to drive whether or not I can really offer you something. And so you set that up so that you have a longer period of time to have that conversation with them versus trying to think quick on your feet and feel like you need to be salesy because you don't really understand what their needs are. So many different systems. So, did you write down all the systems that I told you to write down? I want you to look at each one of those. Look at each one of those from the perspective of branding for your business, and each one of those in terms of your nature and setting up the system around that supports your nature, whether that's adjusting how it happens, verbally, written, quickly, slowly, or you actually just delegate it to somebody else altogether. Thank you for listening to Ask Christina First, Systemic Systems, and how we can actually integrate a greater sense of peace for ourselves by fine-tuning our systemic systems within our business.